What we do matters, and if we really care about student and staff success, then we need to be thinking about who they are in terms of equality, diversity, and inclusion. Because of the time I've spent in an EDI role, I've seen many colleagues from across the sector demonstrate real innovative and passionate approaches to equality and inclusion, taking opportunities to acknowledge, value, respect, and ultimately celebrate diversity in all its forms. Understandably, though, sometimes we can lack confidence with some aspects of this, including in terms of how we might support trans and gender diverse students and staff. We can find ourselves caught up in definitions and terminology and be frightened that we might say the wrong thing. And while that is important, I believe what we do is much more important. We need to ask ourselves, what steps are we taking to make our learning and working spaces inclusive for trans and gender diverse students and staff? And from there, start to take the necessary steps. Those steps might be about curriculum design, the hidden curriculum, the physical and virtual learning space, administrative processes, and the whole college approach taken to support trans inclusion. No matter your role in your college, you can make a positive difference and impact to a trans student or member of staff. What we do matters. We should never take that for granted. So let's ask ourselves some questions to enable us to make our colleges in Scotland trans inclusive. Curriculum design. Do your learning and teaching materials represent a wide range of experiences, perspectives, and identities? Specifically in this context, are your materials gender diverse? Engaging with materials that you don't see yourself reflected in can make it difficult to relate to. For trans students, this could contribute to a feeling of being othered and can negatively impact on one's sense of worth and belonging. Quite often, I think of that phrase, you can't be what you can't see. You may have students who are questioning their gender identity or are early in their transition. So making sure you take opportunities to include trans identities where you can could be hugely helpful to them and to the wider ends of equality and inclusion. Many college courses have an element of working with people, so you could encourage students to think beyond the binary of male and female to prepare them for their future working lives. Hidden curriculum. How can you make your learning spaces welcoming and engaging for trans students? Learning spaces can often reproduce binary and cisgender norms by making assumptions about people's gender and reinforcing gender stereotypes. This often unconscious erasure can make it very difficult for trans students, and in some cases can create a hostile environment in which trans students feel unsafe. We already know from research that many trans students in Scottish colleges and universities do feel unsafe on campus, and many feel unable to tell their institution their trans status, and in some cases have been actively encouraged not to share this. So, consider your use of language. Welcome everyone instead of ladies and gentlemen. And perhaps be sensitive that some students may feel uncomfortable with the word guys. Challenge transphobic behaviour and attitudes. Don't make assumptions about people's gender. Use pronouns where you can. It is okay to ask someone what their pronoun is. Avoid gender stereotypes. Learning spaces. Have you considered the needs of trans students, including in an online context? Many of us continue to work in a hybrid or blended learning way, and so for some trans students, studying from home can present additional challenges. They may not be out at home or live in a safe environment. Some trans students may present as one gender at college and another at home. If you are teaching online, some trans students may find using the mic or camera very challenging due to anxiety around gender presentation. So, sound of their voice, seeing themselves on screen. So be mindful of the learning environment. Offer a range of participation options. Consider platforms that enable students to take control of their name used on screen. And potentially also consider introducing pronouns also on screen. You also contribute to a whole college approach to trans inclusion. Consider adding your own pronoun to your email signature, or ask ICT to add this so every time you log in, your pronoun is visible. This could encourage any students to come forward to speak to you about a whole range of issues that are important to them. Visible support to trans inclusion is important. It sets the tone, it leads by example, and it benefits everyone. You don't need to be an expert on trans inclusion. Reach out to friends and colleagues across the sector and tap into the many resources and information that is out there. We just need to remember that trans students and staff are people who have the right to exist, to be acknowledged, and to be respected for who they are.